The hospital was quiet that night. Emergency lights bathed the sterile walls in a faint glow, casting long shadows down the silent corridors. Nurses and doctors working the night shift moved with calm efficiency, exchanging hushed words while footsteps echoed softly through the halls. Everything felt routine until the automatic doors at the main entrance slowly slid open. Expecting a late-night patient, the staff looked up, but instead of a person, a German shepherd stepped into the lobby. His coat was tangled with dried mud, and his deep, tired eyes held both determination and fatigue. This was Max, a retired police dog. He moved cautiously but with intent, something clutched gently in his jaws, a bundle wrapped in a worn cloth. The nurses froze, unsure what to do. Finally, one of them stepped forward, driven by curiosity more than fear. Carefully, she unwrapped the bundle and gasped. Inside was a baby. Tiny, frail, and barely breathing. Its skin was pale, its chest rising and falling in shallow, irregular motions. "Oh my God, it's a baby," she whispered, voice shaking. Suddenly, the stillness shattered. The emergency room burst into action. Nurses and doctors rushed forward, calling out instructions, pulling equipment, preparing to save a life hanging by a thread. The infant's condition was critical: malnourished, dehydrated, and cold to the touch. Monitors beeped slowly. Oxygen was administered. IVs were prepped. Every second mattered. Yet through all the chaos, Max stood completely still near the doorway. He didn't bark or whimper. He just watched, his eyes filled with silent urgency. The medical team had seen countless emergencies, but none like this. A dog had walked into the hospital with a dying baby in his mouth. "Check his breathing and heart rate," a doctor ordered, snapping everyone back into focus. They worked quickly. The baby was weak, but slowly, his vitals began to improve. The tension in the room eased just slightly. But the mystery remained. How had Max known to bring the child here? A nurse glanced at the German shepherd, still rooted in place. "This is unbelievable," she murmured. "It's like he knew exactly what he was doing." No one had an answer. What they did know was simple: Max had just given this baby a fighting chance. Word of the incident spread fast. Soon, local police arrived, led by Officer Daniels. The staff recounted what had happened, how Max had simply walked in and delivered the child. "We have no idea where he came from," the head nurse said, still shaken. Daniels approached Max slowly. "A dog carried a baby into a hospital? That's hard to believe," he muttered, watching the calm animal. "Try scanning him," he instructed. A young officer stepped forward with a scanner, but Max backed away, alert, not aggressive. "He's been trained," the officer noted. "This one's definitely a former K9. Daniels nodded. "Let's follow him. Maybe he'll lead us back." With a leash clipped gently to his collar, Max began to walk. His steps were slow and steady, as if retracing a path he knew by heart. They followed him through darkened streets until Max stopped in front of a run-down house in a neglected part of town. The front door hung open. Inside, the air was thick with mildew and the smell of decay. Max led them through a cluttered living room to a small back room. There, they found an old crib, a tattered blanket, and an empty dog bowl, evidence that a child had been here recently. Max walked to the crib, sniffed it once, then lay down beside it, completely spent. He had done his job. The officers fanned out, searching the house. Dust coated everything. Drawers were empty, and food was rotting in the sink. In the kitchen, an officer found a crumpled letter. The handwriting was shaky. "I no longer have the strength to care for him. Everything's falling apart. All I have left is Max, and I know he'll do the right thing. I hope someone can forgive me." There was no signature. Just heartbreak. "He's been watching over that baby this whole time," one officer whispered, glancing at Max. Daniels turned to his team. "We need to find the mother. She might be in serious danger." A few neighbors were still in the area. One elderly man recalled a young woman who had lived in the house. She always had a big dog with her. That must be him, he said, nodding toward Max. I saw her with a baby months ago. Then she just vanished. The story was coming together. A woman, alone and overwhelmed, had turned to the only one she trusted, Max. Hours later, police got a call about a young woman wandering a nearby park. When they found her, she sat motionless on a bench, wrapped in a thin coat. Her eyes were vacant. Her hands trembled. Daniels approached carefully. We found a child brought to the hospital by a dog. Do you know anything about that? The woman's eyes widened. Noah, is it my son? Is he alive? Her voice broke as she choked back sobs. Daniels nodded. He's stable now. Receiving care. Tears streamed down her face. She collapsed into herself as medics moved in to assist her. In the ambulance, she began to speak. Noah's father left us. I couldn't keep up. No money. No food. I was out of options. Her voice cracked. But Max, he never left. He stayed with us through everything. When I couldn't go on, I told him to take Noah somewhere safe. Everyone sat in silence, absorbing the weight of her words. When they reached the hospital, she was taken to the pediatric unit. Max, weary but determined, walked beside her. Inside the room, her son lay hooked up to machines but breathing steadily. Rachel rushed to his side, touching his face gently. Noah, my baby, she whispered, voice full of emotion. Max stood at the door, watchful. She turned to him, tears in her eyes. Thank you, Max. You saved my son. You saved us. Doctors and officers who had seen everything remained quiet, visibly moved. Max wasn't just a dog, he was a guardian. Over the next few days, Noah steadily improved. Nurses checked his vitals, Rachel stayed by his side. Social workers helped her find temporary housing and support services. When she was finally discharged, Rachel stepped out of the hospital into the sunlight, Noah in her arms. Max walked faithfully at her side. We made it, she whispered to him. Because of you. Their story spread quickly. Strangers brought food, baby supplies, and job offers. The community rallied around them. Life would still be difficult, but Rachel knew she wasn't alone anymore. Max had made sure of that. One evening, watching Noah play on the floor, Rachel turned to the dog lying nearby. She stroked his fur gently. We made it through, Max, she said. You gave us hope when we had nothing. Max lifted his head slightly, his eyes wise and full of quiet understanding. This wasn't just a story about survival. It was about loyalty, love, and a dog who never gave up on his family.